Well, hey folks, it's your old pal, King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. Went almost a month there with the internet being very problematic. I guess there's one flaw of moving to a nice big old house and a big plot of land out in the middle of nowhere is that you get out in the middle of nowhere level internet service. But it seems to be up and running again. They got the receiver affixed to a different, closer tower finally, and things seem to be on the up and up. So I'm trying to get back into geared up into trying to make a video every morning and all that kind of stuff, especially for the holiday season and all that. However, the state of D&D videos right now in late 2022 is kind of tepid. Because they've announced one D&D is coming out, 5th edition is kind of dead. The last several 5th edition releases have all been lackluster. The people who are the most hardcore about D&D and are the most likely to want to like and subscribe to someone's D&D videos don't really want to hear about them. They've already kind of just been dismissed as poorly written trash. And I can't really blame people for having that assessment. The quality level has dipped down, but I feel in some ways that's also kind of a byproduct of the fact that they've already set their goal on the next version of D&D. Even if it's just subconscious, the impetus to make the best quality product possible, it just is gone now. Dragonlance, and if they have anything else that's going to go with Spelljammer, considering that the Spelljammer box set for 5th edition is lacking in a lot of material that should have been there. The fact that there's things in the Spelljammer books that kind of hints that maybe there will be a last-minute 5th edition Dark Sun release. And we still have never seen them try to bring back Mystara, and I'm sure there's probably a couple other obscure settings here and there that have not seen the light of day in quite some time. Oh yeah, Planescape. I've also heard some rumor that there's going to be some sort of like last-minute Planescape release for 5th edition, which seems almost redundant since it's my own personal kind of point of view that 5th edition already is Planescape. There's lots of spells that allow for planar travel. Several of the races from the original Planescape box sets for 2nd edition that are the plane-touched races like Tieflings and Aasimar and Genasi have had a presence in 5th edition this whole time. Sigil is there that talks about the Great Wheel of the Outer Realms and the Inner Realms, and all that kind of stuff is present in 5th edition. So Planescape is the background in which 5th edition takes place. It's just you do your level 1 through 10 adventures on a material universe world before the characters are really high enough level to go start adventuring off into the other realms. But you get to a point where the characters have reached such a power level and just in their player character abilities that you kind of have to shift to a multi-planar kind of game just to be able to throw them villains and enemies that will pose any sort of threat to them at higher levels. So 5th edition is Planescape, so them putting out Planescape is kind of redundant, but in whatever form it's going to take, I'd say odds are pretty high that they're not going to make their difficulty check when they roll their skill check for RPG design before they rush it out to print. Also, there's a thing that I've observed and somewhat complained about and yet also still participate in, even if somewhat half-heartedly or sarcastically, and it's the fact that we live in an age where nerddom, fandom, geekdom has been stirred up and, highly radicalized in its own kind of ways in one direction or another. And generally, the videos that will do the best, get the most traction, bring in the most subscribers and the most comments and all that kind of stuff are videos in which I go over or complain, especially if I complain about something in D&D or another modern game that has gone woke. Unfortunately, though, this isn't really new news anymore. The wokening has happened. I feel like most of it's been digested and commented upon ad infinitum by myself and by many, many, many others. There is a slow trickle of some of the more mainstreamy kind of YouTube gaming channels that are kind of slowly kind of nibbling at acknowledging that some of these things are problems when they've been kind of trying to deny it up until very recently. And I think that might tie in somewhat with just the kind of psychological impact on gaming culture that the announcement of one D&D has. Because like I say, by announcing that you're already working on your next project, you're basically saying that your current project is morto. It doesn't matter anymore. It's dead. You don't care anymore. You got a new, younger, hotter girlfriend. Screw your middle-aged wife. You're going to hop in your one D&D Camaro and drive off into the sunset. You know, those of us who still like the old bag and want to try to, complete our relationship with 5th edition are just kind of left holding our dicks in the wind. I think one of the last things that I saw going on while my internet was pretty squeezed out and loading videos was just taking so long that I just kind of stopped really bothering there for a little bit, aside from updates on my current Spelljammer campaign that I'm trying to run. There's I guess some news about an article had been written talking about how Wizards of the Coast has hired all these diversity consultants to go along with their writers, which is we've already discussed these things. This isn't news. That was news 5, 6, 7 years ago. That's not really news anymore. That's just someone at whatever Gizmodo, Kotaku, whatever magazine that was that originally published that. Just trying to, get some clicks, and then a bunch of people downwind of that trying to get some clicks on stuff that we've already discussed into the ground. DM'd advice. I've already made my DM advice videos. Everyone's got their own different shit, so I don't really have a whole lot of advice to give. Beyond some basic generalities for beginners, but it's not my place to try to influence the older gamers. If I happen to mention something that you like the sound of and you want to use, great. But it's despite my hairline, I am not like the dungeon master from the old cartoon series in the 80s or any of that, so who am I to tell you how to run your game? And all that's already been said into the ground ad infinitum. My Rifts videos, I know there's a small little core group of my audience here that likes my Rifts videos, but there's kind of not enough of you, and it's a little discouraging to want to spend my time, going through over the material and getting it all in my head and organizing it out in little lists and stuff to, have these little regional guides and stuff. If only 16 fucking people are ever going to watch the damn video. Those videos about Rifts China were so abysmal that, it's... the internet going out, was the main reason why I kind of abruptly stopped uploading those, but the urge to want to get back on that horse and finish them off isn't there. But, once again, as with what I did with the New West series, it's kind of an homage itself to Palladium to just abruptly, not finish the series in spite of all these great promises of these things that are to come. So... I don't know. We'll see if I ever get back around to that, just for completion's sake. I find the setting specifically in China just, I don't know, not terribly appealing for myself. There's just something about it. There's things about it that are cool, but there's also things about it that I find a bit off-putting. I find the Japanese setting for a Rifts Asia guide, to be much more compelling. And perhaps I should have just started off there or just focused on Japan entirely and left China out of the equation, as I have done for years and as Rifts themselves do, because they would set China up to have this mist surrounding, the country that doesn't allow gods or supernatural beings to see what's going on inside, and everything's pretty self-contained, and they're not out trying to harass their neighbors that much. Rifts itself kind of ignores China too, so I guess that's just part of the setup. But yeah, my hopes is to do some more content, but I'm not exactly sure what the content should be about. I'm reading the Star Trek Adventures Player's Guide, and man, does it give a lovingly long and slow blowjob to Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek in that one. The stuff it says about Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard in the beginning of the book in the introduction, when it's just kind of giving an overview of what Star Trek is for somebody who has no idea what Star Trek is. Man, it really makes them out to be like the bee's knees. It was of Discovery, I believe it said, Discovery has told the most mature themed stories of all the Star Trek series consistently. Liars. liars for money and clout, or whatever it is, or just to maintain their contract with this evil, hideous company that owns the IP. So I guess there's some controversy. Modifius Star Trek is actually trying to make it out that Star Trek Discovery is quality television. Run with that. Do what you will. Yeah, I guess that's about it. That's the ennui of a foggy morning out here in East Texas, with really nothing to talk about anymore, and yet the algorithmically driven desire and need for further and further content to pump those numbers up. Gotta get them numbers up. So anyway, on that note, if that was a note of any kind, maybe it was the brown note. Go shit yourselves and stay waspinated.